I was walking Lily this morning and I got thinking about the fear of being perceived. I hear it talked about all the time online, and it's something I really used to struggle with. I was a born wallflower. While I was very chatty, I liked making friends. I really didn't like being seen. I didn't like attention on me. The idea, even now, of walking up the aisle on a wedding day makes me feel physically unwell. Despite this being my job, I used to really, really not like being the center of attention. And even now, I don't love it. But I realized that in order to create, I had to get more attuned and get more used to being perceived. And so I thought it might be nice to talk about how I did it. How did I go from squirming at the idea of people looking at me to just finding a neutrality around it and sometimes even enjoying it? I'm very green today. I've started making matcha at home with a bit of honey and some raspberry jam. So good. It was so interesting having these two parts of me kind of at war, because such a big part of me wanted to start making stuff on YouTube. And then the other half was like, couldn't even be looked at in public, just wanted to look a way that made me blend in with everyone else. I became other people. I copied what they were doing. I copied what they were wearing, what they were saying. I was really transient in my identity. But at the same time, I had this real creative buzz and this huge growing desire to contribute to the conversation on YouTube. Anyway, I've married those two parts of me together now, and they have some kind of harmony. This has been a journey. It's not just been something that I switched off. I have to work on being okay with being perceived. If you're someone who hates the sound of your own voice or stalks your social pages to try and guess how other people see you, then I think this video might help. You don't necessarily have to want to become a content creator for this to be a valuable video. So yeah, to me, it's not just about being a content creator. If you want to become a content creator, then cool. I obviously fully support that. But I think this is kind of universal. In my experience, the fear of being perceived is more so the fear of learning what others think of you, or of being criticized, or of going against the expectations that you think people have of you. And then also the fear of failure. So I'm going to talk through those four things, and that all ties into people pleasing, insecurity, self-esteem. It's all in one big bucket. So I want to kind of talk about all of those things and how I've dealt with each one. This is the bit that's more specific to content creators, right? I would try and reframe the fear into the goal. So I'd shift your focus from the fear of being perceived into what you're trying to achieve. So something I did was shift from focusing on the fear of being perceived to the purpose of why I was trying to be perceived. You have to know why you're doing it all, and you have to remember the good things that are on the other side of the fear. So to give you a quick rundown of my history, I started creating on YouTube over half my life ago. So I've had a lot of practice, I've got my reps in, and thank God I focused on YouTube because the rewards have been incredible. And as you can see, this video is in partnership with YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, for working with me. But honestly, I sing their praises all the time anyway. I think if you want longevity as a creator, this is the platform for you. YouTube really helped me find my voice. Having long form video was really helpful. And even then, like, long form was 3 minutes when I started. Like, if anyone made a video over 10 minutes, it was shocking. You just have so much space to experiment on YouTube. I tried live streaming. I've also done some short form as well. In fact, I'm really enjoying using YouTube Shorts at the moment. And so much of what I'm going to touch on that helped me in this video is skills I learned through consistently doing YouTube, consistently uploading, staying and sticking to a schedule, iterating on my ideas, experimenting and improving. Again, talking about the rewards, I've built an incredible community here. I find it one of the most rewarding parts of this whole experience. And that's like actually why I set out to do YouTube. I saw the community, I saw that I could be friends with other creators and develop relationships with people in my audience. I really wanted to find people who were similar to me when I started YouTube, and boy did I find that, not only in other creators but also in my audience. Every time I bump into people on the street and we have a little chat, I'm like, oh my God, we are so similar. And we just have a depth of relationship. Also an obvious financial rewards, like the YouTube Partner Program, we love. And I think when I actually got accepted to the YouTube Partner Program, it felt like I got permission to lean into creating even more. And I've also experimented with all the different ways to monetize on YouTube as well. I, for a while, had channel memberships, which was really fun. So yeah, there's so many ways that I've been able to monetize over the years. And when people are starting out, I'm like, pick YouTube as your main platform because you can make it fit with where you're at in your creation journey. So you can make money off live streaming if that's what's suiting you. You can make money off shorts, you can make money off long form videos, and then all these other ways that YouTube have to monetize, all in between. Anyway, basically, all this to say YouTube's nurtured my creativity over the years, and I'm just immensely grateful for it. And I just think so much of getting over my fear of being perceived came from uploading on YouTube and just like really sticking with it, committing to it. So yeah, YouTube has honestly changed my life in so many ways, not only just in helping me get over the fear of being seen. I've been able to work on myself and build a career out of it. What the heck? It's just insane. It's insane. I'm full of gratitude. I can't believe I've been doing this for so long and that it's stayed fulfilling the entire time. I mean, this is actually just such a tangent, but yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. And it's been, I actually don't want to say how long I've been on YouTube, but let's just say YouTube just turned 20 years old and I've been on the platform longer than half YouTube's life. I'm actually meeting up with other YouTube creators this afternoon for a picnic. How nice is that? Like I have like full friends from YouTube. So to rewind and go right back to the initial point, I think that you really need to focus on the purpose of why you are working on being perceived and make that the thing you jump to as opposed to the anxiety, the dread, etc. Obviously, all of this takes reps. It takes practice. It's not something that you switch on and off one day. Okay, so there's a book I read in my early 20s that changed my life. It's called The Four Agreements and it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. It created an awakening in me. It's a spiritual self-help book based on Toltec wisdom and it offers a code of conduct to help individuals achieve a personal freedom and happiness. So there are 4 core agreements. I'm going to read them off my laptop. Forgive me. As you can tell, I came in, by the way, today and just like made a bunch of notes about this topic. I was just on a roll. I had so many thoughts on that walk. So the 4 agreements. The first is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. And specifically, agreements 2 and 3 had a profound impact on how I see the world and how I interact with others. So Ruiz explains that what others say and do is a reflection of them and not you. So don't take what people say and do personally. Others' opinions of you aren't fact. They're just interpretations of you run through a huge system of information, which is their brain, that is informed by everything they've ever experienced, all their fears, all their insecurities, all of their judgments on life. And they often speak from a lens of looking for safety. Most people just want to feel safe and secure. And sometimes the decisions you make flare something up within them that makes them feel unsafe or insecure. Developing neutrality to other people's opinions was really pivotal for me and made being perceived much easier on my brain. Understanding that this is where people are coming from really helped me empathize with people when they were coming to me with thoughts, opinions, judgments, when I met with friction, because people, and that's often in my real life as well, not necessarily online, when people just don't like what I'm doing. I used to be so afraid of their judgment, but now I feel way more freedom from it. So yeah, this outlook also helps me empathize with their perspective and then also takes the power out of people's opinions. They're just interpreting information that they've received from the limited look at what I'm doing through a very specific lens that is informed by every judgment they've ever had, every fear they've ever had, every insecurity, every concern. It's just a feeling. It's not fact. As you bring this attitude into your everyday life, I find that there's just less pain caused by hearing or observing how other people are around you, how they react to you, and when they make it clear what they think of you. And I need to say as well, I personally don't believe in such a thing as a thick skin. I still think no matter how tough you are, certain comments, certain things will really hurt a lot. And still I get hurt by things people say and comments they make. But the difference is that now I can approach them with empathy. I can take a step back and assess whether there is feedback here that I need to take on board or if it's just a rogue opinion. It's learning to take your own emotion out of it as well. So when you're able to reflect from further away, you can see and kind of notice tonal things like whether the comment comes from a compassionate place or looking at how many people are making a comment. You know, if there's a lot of people in your life thinking a specific way, then maybe you should reflect on it a little further. If many people are saying something to me, or if it's someone I really respect and someone I want to be like, I do tend to take a step back and reflect and realign and assess if I need to change my behavior. Just gaining this perspective gives you some more neutrality and makes you just a bit more resilient. That book and what it led to, like developing neutrality to others' opinions, honestly changed the course of my life. And in turn, that just helped me have a more peaceful relationship with being perceived. Let's have a quick chat about people pleasing, because I think a lot of why people don't want to be perceived or seen is because they are uncomfortable with the idea of rocking the boat. And that was a huge barrier to me, to why I didn't want anyone to know I was creating on YouTube in my personal life for like the longest time. I wanted people to like me. I didn't want to shift the way they thought about me. And I've just always been super inhibited by fear of rocking the boat, fear of conflict. Oh my goodness, it is a lifelong struggle for me. And I just had so much fear around making people uncomfortable by my creative decisions. And this might sound insane, but people pleasing pleases nobody. Accommodating behavior is rarely actually very accommodating, because the way that this mechanism works is you are making assumptions about what that person wants before they've even told you what they want. And you're just squashing and shrinking your desires to accommodate other people in ways that they might not even care about being accommodated for. And in turn, that is brewing levels of resentment within you, whether you agree or not. I know most people will go, I'm not resentful when I people please. But actually, deep down in your shadow self, you're probably feeling it. You're probably not feeling great about the fact that you're compressing your desires into a small box and putting them in a cupboard in the back of your head. And even when you've asked that person, they've answered, they've told you what they want, not everyone cares about being 100% accommodated for either. Oftentimes we aren't actually accommodating for people because they need it. We're accommodating for them because we're afraid of what would happen if we didn't. We're afraid of rocking the boat because we're afraid of conflict, right? Even though there may be absolutely no conflict from this situation at all, we're preempting something that might not happen. We're just letting fear run the show and drive our lives, and that is crazy. People pleasing is 100% driven by fear, and it's so dumb. Bear in mind, I'm very much saying this to myself because I'm so annoyed at how long I spent in my life treading around things, like on my tiptoes, metaphorically speaking, really trying not to upset people that were not going to be upset by any of the decisions I made. All I did was just stop myself from trying. The only way to actually find out how someone's going to respond to something is doing it. And it's just such a useless exercise because being agreeable is not a definitive way to make someone like you more. In fact, oftentimes it rubs people up the wrong way. It's a fact of life. You cannot make someone like you more. By trying, you're trying to control someone else. You're trying to control a situation. You have no control over those people. You can't make them like you more. Sure, you can have a bit of influence over what people think of you, but you can't change it. Some people are just going to not like you. And regardless, a lot of people would rather that someone made a decision, even if they wouldn't necessarily have made it themselves, or they chose to do something that they wouldn't necessarily have done themselves. Taking action is really important and people really respect it. That whole dynamic of being liked versus being respected is very much at play there. Sorry, this is a real pep talk. But also people pleasing can be interpreted as waiting for other people to guide you, which can really rub people up the wrong way. And I learned this the hard way. They might want you to make a certain decision, but nobody likes doing someone's thinking for them. For example, I learned this the hard way through being someone who was really, really agreeable when I was on holiday. People would say, what do you want to do? I go, I will do whatever you want to do. But what I perceived as being really easygoing was perceived by my friends as putting the onus of planning the trip on them. If I'd come with ideas and opinions and desires, I would have actually made them much happier. And as we know, it's been studied a million times, but being too agreeable in work can really stunt your progress. Because ultimately you end up just asking for less than the people who are more assertive. Sorry, this is a bit of a long-winded one and we meandered a bit. But basically, if you're a people pleaser, you have a core belief that being agreeable is what other people want. But really, all you've done there is just make an assumption about how other people think and feel, something that you don't know unless you actually ask someone. And so many times you're accommodating people unnecessarily. Oftentimes people won't even notice the way that you are being accommodating to them. They won't be thinking about it. So it's not even affecting them. And yet the resentment is building up within you because you're feeling out of alignment. You're getting less and less aligned with what you want. But you can change that by having that opinion, by asserting yourself, by just making what you want known and making decisions that are considerate, but they're in your interests. And the moment that someone told me that actually I wasn't really making people comfortable at all, they'd tell me if they wanted to be more comfortable, I I had like an awakening, effectively. So yeah, my gut always guides me to shrink myself a bit more, but I have to remember the discomfort is just a false alarm. Then there's the classic reason of fearing being perceived, which is insecurity. Insecurity about how you look, insecurity about your voice, about your mannerisms, maybe about the way that you speak. It's like a different angle on fearing other people's opinions. It's not necessarily about upsetting people, but almost you have this fear of them seeing you as you really are, as how you perceive you really are. We're afraid of their opinions on just our existence because it's something we ourselves have opinions about and we often don't think are good enough. So I think that insecure fear really stems from fear of people seeing who we truly are. This one's a little bit deep. My insecurities about how I look and how I sound have affected me for as long as I can remember. And they've held me back from creating. I've deleted whole pieces of footage, whole videos. And specifically when I started, the idea of sharing the essence of how I present to the world made me feel so self-conscious. And it's just like saying, like, these things I can't change. I'm going to broadcast them into the world. Like, obviously that's a recipe for anxiety. So how do we become more secure in ourselves? I can't tell you how to become more secure in yourself, but I can tell you how I reached stages of neutrality and acceptance around these things that oftentimes you can't change. Because ultimately there's no pithy life advice that will make you feel pretty. I'm sorry to say it. However, there are some facts that I've learned that have helped me and I hope will help you. The first, depending on who you are, might seem kind of fake or very obvious. And that's that everyone sees you differently. And I don't mean that in a romantic kind of way. I mean that very, very scientifically and literally. Let's start with in real life. In real life, everyone has a different idea of beauty. We are influenced, obviously, by societal standards and our upbringings and all these other outside factors. But even then, there are people that I meet and I think are the prettiest people I've ever seen. Someone else will comment to me, not to them, thank God, and say that they don't think they're very pretty. And I cannot believe it when that happens. I'm always stunned, bowled over. These are women I would die to look like. And someone else is looking at them saying they're not very pretty. And it's amazing. And I really notice this as I get older, how my opinions on someone's beauty changes as I get to know them. Even just over the course of an evening, someone's charisma, their charm, their chat, all of those things completely change my perception of someone from the first introduction. And I hadn't realized that was even happening until quite recently. But that's why, like, when people are on dating apps and they'll be swiping, they'll be like, I don't know. But they'll take the chance on a lot of people because honestly, when you meet someone in person, it can just feel like so different and you can really like experience their beauty, if that makes sense. You see the way they smile, their eyes have the little crow's feet, it's so nice, their eyes light up. Basically, everyone's got different taste, and on a subconscious level, they also just have very different opinions on what is beautiful that they're not even like consciously making decisions on. You also look different in every single lens. I wish someone had told me this when I was younger. Having filmed my face for many a year now, I've realized I look completely different in different lenses. And for me personally, I prefer my face in a wider angle lens. I have quite a square face. So when you're getting to those portrait lenses, those 50 mils, I don't look great. And you can test this yourself. If you set up your camera and you film yourself on 0.5, then 1, then 2, then 3, you will see the way your face changes shape. Every lens distorts your face to a certain extent. So no photo or video can objectively provide you a view of what you actually look like. I've taken photos and videos in the same month that look like two different people. And let's take this even a little bit further. Every single window you see yourself in, every car window, every piece of glass, every reflection in water, you are distorted. You look different in every single one. And just learning this has really helped me have some neutrality around the way I look. I am always changing. I am always evolving. And I'm also evolving in how I am perceived. And that's okay. Jack just got home. He's been for lunch. It's a Saturday, did I mention? Ooh, hello, Lily. Right, BRB. We will continue this once Lily's had a drink. The best thing you can do is develop an ambivalence towards this and remember that the way you look, both in the digital realm and in real life, is evolving continuously. It depends on the day, on the light, on the lens, on your cycle. Don't underestimate the variation in how you look on your cycle. I take great comfort in knowing that there's no permanent version of me. You have to believe that what you're putting out into the world and what you're creating is greater than and more valuable than the way you look. When it comes to content creation, if you feel like the way that you look is what the success of your content rides on, I really don't think you're ever going to be fulfilled. You just have to focus on the value that you bring that does not revolve around the characteristics of yourself that you can't change. And that is not just about content creation, that is about life. Very serious face right now. We're talking business. Some of this is just about getting the reps in. The more that you perceive yourself, whether that's filming yourself, editing podcasts where you're talking, all of those things, the more exposure therapy you're getting, the more neutral and kind of okay with yourself you become, just because of the exposure and the repetition. And in the same vein, the more you put yourself out there, the easier it becomes. So the more I challenge myself to wear more interesting outfits that I actually want to wear, even when I feel slightly afraid of, what people will think of them, how they'll perceive them. I just bought some little tabby shoes recently, the toe shoes, and people have been telling me how they feel about them. Some days I feel very silly wearing them, but the more I do it, the less daunting it becomes. And also from building up a library of content, you gain the power of reflection. You're able to look at the ways in which you have seen yourself presented over the course of, let's say, 6 months or a year, and you're able to reflect on which versions of yourself or which ways of presenting yourself you prefer, and maybe which ways you would maybe amend slightly moving forward. You learn what isn't working for yourself, and you're able to tweak things as you go along. If one thing isn't working for you as well, just try another. I used to film on a 50mm lens, and as I maybe mentioned earlier, it made me look really wide in my lower face. For me personally, that's not how I wanted to present to the world. It made editing videos really hard for me because I had to just stare at this version of my face for a lengthy period of time. So I changed the lens. I sold the old lens. I bought a new one. And I think personally it brings out the best in me. And it's worth saying it's not about changing me. I didn't look at myself and think, oh, I need jaw surgery. I looked at myself and thought, maybe the lens is the problem. And I think that's the best attitude you can have. And I'm very much going through this in real time right now with my voiceovers. I never used to voice over anything. I feel very natural just having a little chat with you on camera. For some reason, I feel like I seize up when I have to voice over my shorts. I just don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like my tone. I don't like my intonation right now. So every time I do a voiceover, I try something new. I iterate and I experiment just a little. And so gradually I'm figuring out what works best for me. How much enthusiasm in my voice makes sense to me. Oh my God, this is making me overthink about my voice right now so much. And just where to put the beats so I don't find myself annoying. So this topic is a bit of a mixed bag. Some of this is very much acceptance and neutrality around things you can't change about yourself. And then there's another element, which is just being smart about what you can change and not making those changes about changing you. So yeah, I think it's a double whammy in terms of becoming more secure. I think part of it is developing a sense of neutrality, especially around the things that you just can't change, and a sense of acceptance around the fact that you don't control the way people perceive you, but also understanding that you do have a little bit of influence in the way that you pick and choose how to document yourself, and that you can find power in that. And people do this all the time. This is not a case of Instagram versus reality. Every comedian puts out their best jokes. You're allowed to curate yourself. There's a reason we don't see the models before they're on the runway. There's a reason we don't hear all the ums and ahs in the edits of vlogs. We don't hear the really bad jokes that the comedians tested one time. You're allowed to be slightly curated and still be a full, lovely version of yourself. The final thing I want to talk about is the fear of failure and how to build your self-esteem. Fear of failure is really, I think, deep down, a fear of public humiliation. And it's the essence of why so many people fear being perceived. And when our self-esteem is fragile, the fear of failure can become a monster. Overcoming the fear of failing in public is a key part, a key factor to overcoming the fear of being perceived. The way that I've done this is I see every failure as a lesson. Every failure is full of information for me in how I want to approach things differently next time, on what I will and won't tolerate, and how I can be better at the thing that I'm doing. And remember that no one is watching you as closely as you are watching you. Don't let the self-conscious, slightly self-obsessed voice in your head convince you that everyone is watching you with like a magnifying glass. You are watching you with a magnifying glass. Everyone else is just getting on with their lives and watching themselves with a magnifying glass. So rarely is anyone as tuned into your failures as you are. Lots of people simply don't care, and they're just preoccupied with themselves, their goals, and their fears. And if you are finding that one or two people are really in tune with your failures, I'm going to refer you back to the first part of this video. Where are they coming from? What's the lens they're looking at this through? What are their fears? What are their desires? What have you got that they don't have? Or what fear of theirs is being played on? Oftentimes that kind of obsessive interest in someone else's failures are coming from a place of insecurity. Things they're insecure about are informing their lens, and that's why they're so hyper-focused on you. Get comfortable with being on the journey. The idea of an end point, I have learned, is just a complete myth. The moment you reach that goal, you've already moved the goalposts. I found for me that the fear of failure and being perceived has manifested oftentimes in procrastination and that kind of executive dysfunction, So quickly, these are a few ways, I mean, I can make a whole video on this, but these are just a few top line ways that I try and tackle those experiences or that kind of just freeze response. The main thing is the only way to get over that hurdle is to start doing and to keep on doing. And so on the emotional level, I said this a million times before in videos, but every time that you say you're going to do something and then you don't follow through, you don't do it, you knock your self-esteem just a little bit. But all those little knocks creep up. And so they build this low self-esteem. And on the flip side, every time you do follow through with something that you said you were going to do, you build your self-esteem just a little bit. You become the person that does the things that you wanted to do. And that's really powerful. So how do we do that when we are in a freeze response? Well, for me personally, a classic is creating unavoidable commitments. Book that coffee in for 8 a.m, book that workout class in, sign up to the half marathon, create an upload schedule if you're doing content where the consequence would be significant if you were not to upload. For example, you want to start a podcast? Well, book in some dates to record with guests straight off the bat. You have to be prepared for those dates because they're going to come along probably sooner than you're ready for. Sometimes I can harness that fear of letting people down for good. Something else that causes my freeze response is not knowing how to do something. So something that I do when I'm starting a new activity and I feel kind of frozen is I do like a mock run through of all the steps I will need to do. And sometimes that actually means asking someone else to show you what those steps are. So when it comes to filming in a new environment, for me, I find that really hard. When I move house and I first have to sit down and film, I feel like, I don't know why, I just absolutely freeze up. So I have learned that I have to do like a mock run through. I have to set my camera up with no intention of filming anything that day, but I have to set everything up, have my makeup on, and then look at my background. Okay, what would I put here? Set up all the lights correctly, how I want them, and kind of create that set and have everything charged. I have to do the whole thing as like a mock. And then I've learned all the steps I need to do and roughly how long they're going to take. And that really, I don't know why, just really helps me. I did the same with learning to run. Again, I didn't know how to get going at all, but luckily my boyfriend loves running. So he kindly took me on a run. He told me what gear to get because I didn't even know what to wear on a run in winter in the UK. I didn't know there were like all these thin layers. So I asked for help and I was kindly given it. Seeing how to do things, once I've been shown once, I was able to just repeat the process. Sometimes I just do this on a visualizing level. So the night before I'm going to do something, in fact, sometimes just the night before I have a busy day, just as I'm lying in bed, I visualize how the day is going to go. Okay, so what does it actually look like time-wise and what am I doing at those times? I'll often think about it in terms of breakfast, lunch and dinner as well, and when I will be eating those and where. I don't know why that really helps me, but the next day it gives me an idea of how to fit everything in, especially when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Also, if there's a task I need to do that I've never done before, I'll get YouTube up, I'll watch YouTube videos. Again, it's like looking for help, finding someone who's done it before. I had no idea how to deal with the mold in the bathroom and the peeling ceiling paint, so I found some videos on it. Stop expecting yourself to intuitively know how to do things and how to start things, how to manage things. Ask for help or find that support. Anyway, yeah, that's what I do to just make that a little bit easier. The final piece of advice for this is change your environment. If I'm really struggling to get out of this executive dysfunction or this freeze, I oftentimes just have to pack my laptop and go outside, go for a walk, get to a cafe, do the thing I need to do, the task I've been putting off, do it there. Maybe even with an accountability partner. This is not applicable for every situation, but when it comes to cracking on and getting stuff done, this really helps me. Okay, moving on. So now you've actually got out of the freeze and you're doing stuff, lower your expectations. You won't start out by being good. A real key to getting over the fear of failure is lowering your expectations of yourself. And as someone who is a chronic perfectionist, and I didn't even realize I was a perfectionist because I've never done anything well in my life. I hadn't realized that I was putting all this pressure on myself and that every time I would achieve something, I'd again just move the goalposts further away. And the only way I've learned to combat this is to lower my expectations of myself. You're not gonna be good when you start. You just need to chuck the perfectionism in the bin. It's just holding you back. For me, my perfectionism is like a loud parrot in my head. And one of the only ways I found to deal with it is to work to deadlines. Set yourself a schedule, stick to it. And for me, this works for pretty much everything. I also think something that's really helped is having a long-term outlook, because fear of failure often manifests for me when I'm looking at, let's say, the results of, and again, sorry, going back to content creation, but looking at the numbers or the views or the interactions just one singular piece of content got, or just on 1 week, my views being down, maybe even a whole month of having less engagement on my content content. And I just think fear of failure gets the better of me when I'm only looking a few days into the future. When I switch to a longer term outlook and also shift away from metrics and focus instead on the less tangible rewards of pursuing something, I tend to just feel a lot better about the outcomes and lessen that fear of failure. I just become better able to ride the wave of the mini successes and failures that happen every week. And then just fundamentally, very spiritually for your soul, as you keep following through with stuff you've committed to and you keep doing something that fulfills you, you naturally grow your self-esteem. And in turn, that gives you this resilience, I guess, and helps you better manage the fear of failure. The fear of failure just starts to shrink. Or maybe even it's just your tolerance for failing in public increases. When you're feeling secure in why you're doing something and you're moving in alignment with your goals, you tend to be able to just withstand more of these mini failures. And honestly, you're able to withstand the big ones too. Oh my goodness, I feel like I've run through every single piece of advice I've ever had. That feels like a novel's worth of thoughts. But I really hope it helps, because the fear of being perceived is always going to hold you back. No one is ever enabled by the fear of being seen, of being looked at, of being observed. So if there's one thing I want for you, it's to tackle that fear, even if just incrementally, day by day. It's very funny that I'm filming this video today and I'm meeting up with friends that I made through YouTube. Yeah, I think we're just gonna have a little picnic in Hyde Park. All right, I'm gonna get ready because I'm running late. I'm so glad you found me.
I don't have my glasses on, so I was like,
I don't have my... I'm literally not wearing my glasses.
oh, so cute, we're twinning. With our little cute. Oh, this is a lovely spot. You really did find a spot in the sun. Cute. I did like that. Movie-esque.
What did you bring? This is very
I thought
sweet.
Way too much.
Amazing, because I didn't bring very much. And I had like the fear around. You know, you're like, what if no one brings anything?
Have you heard about the pollen thing?
It's like sharp, isn't it? It's sharper this year or something.
Yeah, I this time last week, it was insane.
I brought carrots.
I got carrots.
No,
We got similar stuff.
okay, I brought guacamole.
Oh, okay, so I did hummus instead.
So I brought this like elderflower press.
Oh, me too. You know what we are? We're the same in different fonts.
We really
You know what? Oh, you know what's good?
I think it's the bottle. Oh, we'll make it work.
Oh, I see the red light.
Great, quick.
Yay! Okay, quick, squeeze in.
Laugh.
Are we laughing? I just laughed straight into the camera. This camera, yours.
Do you want to do one more?
Should we try on my one?
That worked?
Yes. Go. I don't know what's laughing apparently. Say something funny, Helena. I have nothing funny to say.
I'm so bad.
That is a thumbnail.
You just don't get moments this big anymore.
Seeing the girls was so nice. Jade couldn't make it, so it was just me, Taz, and a girl called Helena, who I hadn't met before, but she's such a cool creator. The park was beautiful, the sun was out. The pollen in London is crazy at the moment. You can't escape it. I was so allergic to Hyde Park today. And then my cousin is staying, so we had a nice little evening. Jack made us chili con carne. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap up here because it is late. It's about 11:30 and I am so tired. I truly cannot wait to get into bed. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please subscribe. If you like a little chatty vlog, I make a lot of them. I try not to make these advice videos too often because honestly, who am I to give advice? I only really want to do it when there's something specific I feel like I actually can help with. I don't just want to make them for the sake of it. But if there's something you would like me to talk about, do let me know. I'm going to do my Headspace, I'm going to do my Wordle, my connections, and I'm going to bed. Thank you again, and I will see you in my next video.